Everybody ready? All right. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Heather to once again call the roll.
Ms. Ragu?
Here.
Mr. Bracken?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Franklin?
Here.
Ms. French?
Here.
Mr. Prethridge?
Here.
Mayor Snavely?
Here. We will now have a pledge of allegiance. If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And now can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any changes or corrections? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. We'll move to public participation. And the first thing we have is appointments to boards and commission. And I would like to recognize Vice Mayor Ragu, so you can fill us in on the nominations.
Okay, for the Board of Zoning Appeals, we'd like to nominate Valginian Dashdorj, Stephen Chafin, Matt Wyatt. Personnel Appeals Board, nominate Alan Kiger. Recreation Board, Jason Mers, Sarah Meany, and Jake Richardson. For HAPC, that is Rima Dinch and Sean Wagner. Civil Rights Commission, Becky Howard. Parking and Transportation, Lee Fisher. Housing Advisory Commission, Steve Schnabel. Police Community Relations and Review Commission, Egon Cron and Chris Skoglin. Student Community Relations Commission, Steve Schnabel. And the McCullough High Board of Trustees, Tim McGowan and Dr. Harlan.
Is there any other nominations? Are there additional nominations? Hearing none. All those in favor of those nominated indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain?
Yes. One abstention. Thank you very much. All right, we will move then to a public hearing on the 2025 tax budget, and I would recognize Heidi Ridenauer. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
So move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is open, and Heidi?
I have prepared tonight there's actually a second reading for an ordinance for this as well, but this is the public participation, or I'm sorry, the public hearing portion of it. The tax budget is required by the county, and is essentially a preliminary budget estimate for next year. Beginning in August, we will undertake our normal detailed line item budget analysis and preparation. We'll spend approximately 3 months of intensive preparation, and the final approved budget will then be submitted to the County Budget Commission to replace this preliminary estimate.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on the preliminary tax budget for 2025? Okay, thank you very much. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have a public Wi-Fi discussion, and I would recognize Assistant City Manager Jessica Green.
Good evening, councilors. In February, we had a discussion about public Wi-Fi and the increased cost, and so I'm back with you with some research that we've conducted. As a reminder, we invested $327,000 in public Wi-Fi using our CARES Act funds, and the ongoing cost annually since then has been $31,200. We had budgeted that for this year, but we got a renewal from PowerNet, which is our company that provides the public Wi-Fi, and it increased to $48,000 a year. This is a $16,800 increase. So we were exploring what options we could do, and you had several questions, so I wanted to take this opportunity to answer those questions. One was that the usage during the winter months was very low, and we've since done a usage count in the spring, and I want to make sure you understand that a usage is a device. So for example, I have 3 devices with me. I have a watch, a phone, and a laptop. So I count as 3. And so the devices being used on average for the past 30 days in the Uptown area and Tri is 30 devices. The community park is 23 devices, and Parkview Arms is 145 devices. So other solutions that we researched during the past couple of months has been in a couple categories. One, we researched keeping it in all of the parks and at PVA for $48,000 a year. We researched if we could find another provider who was cheaper. No. We asked both Enjoy Oxford and the Chamber if they would partner with us and help us split this cost of $16,800 individually, so maybe $8,400 each, and their boards voted no. Their reasoning given was that it is poor quality Wi-Fi, frequently influenced by clouds, rain, and even tree cover. So then we researched Parkview Arms only. Under our current provider, we cannot do just Parkview Arms. If you remember, it's a repeater system, and it comes from that tower, and so you get it all, or you get nothing. It doesn't save you any money if you do less. So then we researched with another provider doing Parkview Arms only, and they responded that it would be $18,000 a year to install a new Spectrum line, so they would run a new line to Parkview Arms. And the assumption would be that it would then use the existing Wi-Fi that we have purchased to then provide the service to the apartments. We did ask the resident council if the internet was helpful, and the answer was yes. The third option we explored was to cancel the program and research income-eligible internet programs. So we learned that if we did drop the program, we can sell all of our existing equipment. We have a lot of extra equipment in storage. If you remember, we were also going to do the mobile home community, and we had purchased those items, and then it didn't work out. So we have a lot of those items kind of on the shelf. Spectrum does have an income-eligible program of a 50 meg internet service for $15 a month. To be eligible, you need to be free and reduced lunch eligible or on SSI. Our staff recommendation at this time, after kind of I'm going, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Our staff recommendation is that we cancel the public Wi-Fi program, sell the equipment, and help educate about the low-income internet solutions. Our rationale is that the over-air public Wi-Fi repeaters offer poor quality public Wi-Fi service, often impacted by rain, clouds, and tree cover. And there's no way for us to improve that public air repeater system. There is an increase in performance in cell phone hotspots, which is something else that both the Chamber and the Enjoy Oxford commented on for their lack of support. We are only serving one lower income apartment complex, and as staff, we feel this is not equitable. There are several other apartment complexes that also house individual and families who are lower income. And there are existing programs that assist with the affordability of the internet. So that is our staff recommendation, unless you tell us that you'd like to do something otherwise. And if that's the case, we would bring forward a resolution to do a new contract.
Okay, does anybody have questions or comments for Jessica? Otherwise, so her statement is, that's the recommendation, they'll go with that unless we ask for something different.
Or can we have public comments? Or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah. First, I wanted to
Oh,
give
for
it to,
us?
if counselors have any questions, then I'll see if anyone in the public wants to speak.
I'm trying to sort through it all because there's so many different things to consider here.
Okay, think about it.
I would just say that it's unfortunate that the system we invested in so much money produced results that then become a foregone conclusion. Like there have been conversations with Enjoy Oxford about doing public Wi-Fi, and they're saying because this system isn't good, we wouldn't want to. I mean, to me, I hate the idea of giving up on perhaps more limited public Wi-Fi in principle, because this experience and infrastructure just didn't seem to work very well. So I understand where we're backing away from it. I don't know that we can provide it everywhere. I like to think that Uptown is still a worthwhile investment in it, but it seems like we're talking about a different system in the future. There's just no way to. So my question is what we were talking about at PVA, which was running hardwire there. Could that not be done in a place like Uptown? Can some of the infrastructure we have be used differently if we didn't want to serve it from the repeater tower? Or is it the whole system or nothing?
With the tower system, it's the whole system or nothing. I will admit that I did not price out each park with its own circuit, but that's the way it would have to be, is you run a new circuit to each park. And then, honestly, we have not done this level of research. We hope then our existing Wi-Fi infrastructure would then serve as the internet in that area.
Yeah, I think what we currently have is financially unsustainable, and it did produce a really poor result.
It was very poor.
I mean, and it was super, I mean, it's unfortunate we're talking about it now because we had it for years and it didn't work, and now it's working and we're gonna cancel it. But
But it works poorly.
But I guess I'm fine with us ending this current situation, but I don't necessarily want to, I'd like to see if something were possible, at least I think Uptown Parks, and then the second question is, I mean, maybe it's a different way we solve the problems, but I don't want to give up on public Wi-Fi in its entirety because this system didn't work.
I have,
Okay. Go ahead.
I have 3 questions. So for the option that you're recommending, we're certain that it would be better quality than what is currently there?
So this would be, it's a Spectrum line that each customer would then purchase, and it would be run to their apartment or their home. It'd be anywhere, just like if you order Spectrum in your home. Just the price that you would pay is based on your income, and it's
And-
50 meg.
And so then the low income price would be $15 a month?
That is what our research has shown, yes.
Okay. I mean, $15 is a lot for people who don't have an income. And then how would they apply? Would they have to? would they-
It's through Spectrum. It is a website, and you do apply online and with your credentials, and then that's how you would then get the service at a discounted rate.
I just feel like there's so much red tape. The more I'm learning about everything that's going on with PVA, that just, I don't know. And then from what I hear, like you said, there are a lot of devices that use it, and it's used so much that it kind of slows down internet capacity. And then I guess the other thing about equity, we have, I would argue, one slum in Oxford, and that would be PVA. So I think it's challenging because of the way it's ran and operated. So I would have a hard time saying that. I understand that there are other low-income families, but it's an incredibly vulnerable location.
Okay. Go ahead.
Does the current provider that we're using understand that we're considering dropping them completely? Do we have leverage there to maybe come back with an offer and say, you're going to keep it 30,000 or we're just not going to use you anymore? I guess you can't answer that, but that might be something we should consider.
But you did talk about educating those who might benefit from the Spectrum program. So what do you imagine that looking like?
In my imagination, we could do door hangers that explain the program. We would definitely work with TOPS and FRC, which I guess is now just TOPS, to inform them about the program. So it could be, we could also put it out on our social media. It's as big or as little as we want to do that education program.
Sorry, did I cut you off, Bill? I was going to say, another thing we might be able to do is we had money committed to this. We could use that money to further subsidize the $15 that it would cost for those who are low income and keep it in our budget.
So in my mind, that would look like a grant to possibly TOPS to then facilitate the assistance. We
Yeah.
probably wouldn't do direct assistance.
Yeah.
But at least budgetarily, we have that option to use that
We
money
do
for
have in the
something
budget the
similar.
31,200.
Okay, that's a possibility. Let me open it up if anyone from the public would like to comment on this issue. We'll get to general and other issues in a moment, but this is just on the issue of Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi. Okay, thank you. Counselors, do you want to have Jessica look at the option of putting our budget into TOPS for a subsidy for Wi-Fi?
Can I throw out something else first?
Yes, you can.
If somehow we could keep it 30,000, would council be in favor of using the 18,000 to upgrade it and then maintain the current cost? So 18,000, if I heard right, was upgrading the ability at PVA, but then we would still have the 48,000, the new cost from the service provider, right?
We're talking about putting that money into TOPS
I was
to help
suggesting something
subsidize.
else. There's
Okay.
two separate things, right? So I just proposed that as an option.
Right.
But another option I thought of was, there was an $18,000 upgrade, right?
If we did the $18,000 at PVA, we'd be separating from PowerNet and going with a new provider
Completely, okay.
completely. And then, in theory, you could then also, on top of that, pay the $48,000 for the parks.
Okay, as separate, sorry. I thought that
separate
was
service. It's not
them
the same
providing
provider. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
the ability to upgrade, and then we would still provide that.
Different provider.
So even if we did that, though, we would have some other annual fee, or is the 18,000 the annual fee?
If we want to get,
18,000 is the annual fee.
I think what
Okay.
I'm getting from this is that if we want to have decent Wi-Fi in Uptown Park, it's going to cost us a lot more money than what we're expending for it.
Yeah,
And
there's
we have
two-
to decide whether that's worth it in our budget.
To me, I see it's like, if, I see two different tracks here. One is, I like the idea of, I mean, even if we budgeted something to help subsidize, I like the idea, though, that it's not specific to BVA. Like, if we had a grant that was Wi-Fi access assistance.
Right.
Through the Family Resource Center or TOPS, then that can hit
They've
needy
married
families
its
wherever
TOPS,
they
yeah.
are, and that's a public program. I do have qualms about investing all this in one privately owned complex. Like, I know it serves the public, but
Yeah.
it's complicated. You know, so I feel like maybe that's the way to go, to just help low-income individuals have access. I personally, before I let go completely, would like to know, I mean, once upon a time, we had a system, we were having conversations about just Uptown, and there were conversations with Enjoy Oxford and the Chamber about doing that. If it were about what would it take to do a decent system just focused on a truly public place, what would it take to do that? And maybe public Wi-Fi is a thing of the past, but I think I'd like to still explore that before we let it go entirely.
Yes.
Jessica, you mentioned having equipment that we can sell off. Do you have a sense of how much revenue? No.
I have no idea. I'm sorry.
And regardless of how much you're able to raise, would you be able to earmark it for the public assistance program? Does it have to go into a particular bucket?
That's a good question.
We got to research
We
that.
would need to
Okay.
research it because we did use CARES
That's
Act
what I was gonna
dollars to
ask.
purchase the equipment.
Yeah.
And it has been several years, so now we have to determine what that window is.
Okay.
So
All right.
more to come if we choose that option.
Thank you.
And if that option was chosen, it'd be $31,000, or how much would be in that fund?
We don't know.
We don't know because we have all this not software, hardware that is just waiting. You know, it's like repeaters and distributors, I don't know the words, but you know, things that are for the public Wi-Fi that we bought extra of that we could sell. But I don't know how much we'd get for it.
How much did we pay for it? Do you know roughly?
A little under $327,000.
For just that?
Yeah. All right, I'm sensing that maybe council would like you to investigate some of these options briefly.
So if I
But
could
I
s-
wouldn't spend,
Yeah.
A
I'm
lot.
hearing researching a public Wi-Fi assistance grant and
Yep.
also the cost of possibly just Uptown with a more high-performing system.
yes.
Okay?
And just let us know what that cost is so that then we can decide whether it's worth it.
And just so we consider all options, you might want to let our provider know that we're this close to dropping them.
I feel like I've said that to many
I
times,
think they
but
probably.
Okay, they know.
They know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing it to us. We appreciate it. Now we get to public comments. And this can be on anything that you would like to bring to the attention of council that is not on the agenda, or if it's on the consent agenda, you can talk about it. This would be the time to do that. If it's on the agenda, just wait till that comes up and we'll recognize you then. So if you, Mark, why don't you come forward and just tell us your name and generally where you live for the record, and we would appreciate it. And we'll give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Mark Boardman. I live at 4385 Harris Road in Milford Township.
Okay.
And that was my opening slide. Good evening. I wanted to speak to you about a wonderful new community asset that it's attached to the Oats Trail. I come tonight speaking on behalf of Three Valley Conservation Trust. And I wanted to mention three things. The first was to thank the city for all of its support to have the Oats Trail. That is absolutely outstanding that we have. It's a remarkable community asset. Secondly, did I do this? It didn't work. Oh, that's good enough. Secondly, I wanted to provide an update of the Oates Trail, and the principal update is that it is completed. The wooden boardwalk is completed, and the boardwalk's a beautiful complement to the Oates Trail. Good. Access from the Oates Trail is located on the east side, shown there by that star labeled East Boardwalk. The star on the left is another handicap accessible boardwalk that was built by Three Valley 2 years ago. The entrance to the boardwalk from the Oates Trail is shown here. The asphalt Oates Trail is on the left, and a gravel service road is on the right side of this photo. All portions of the boardwalk were constructed to meet ADA requirements, including this smooth linkage with the Oates Trail. The first section of the boardwalk includes 250 feet and passes through the woods. The temperature inside the forest is typically about 10 degrees cooler than in the fields. Much of the woods has been cleared of honeysuckles, so people are seeing a forest, not honeysuckle. The first encounter streamside is a viewing platform with sturdy benches. After that, from that bench and platform area, the streamside portion of the boardwalk continues about 500 feet along the stream with several benches for resting. The boardwalk is sturdy. If anything, it is overbuilt. We've used the highest quality materials we could. And throughout, we built everything to ADA compliant standards. That includes spindles and a lower bumper for stroller and wheelchair safety. Handrails on top of the railing provide easy gripping to assist walkers. And that makes this boardwalk access to nature safe and enjoyable for fully able-bodied persons with boundless energy, such as these kids, as well as to those of us who feel safer with a flat surface with railings. For us, access means access for all. The labor and funds for forestation and the boardwalk construction were donated. Many people and agencies made contributions to this project. Tens of thousands of dollars were raised and thousands of hours were committed by individuals and funding agencies. From the city, I'd especially like to thank Scott Otto for his several oversight and consulting visits, and Jessica Green, who I view as the Oates Trail guru. Well, it took a village to produce, and it is one more reason that makes Oxford the great place to live, to work, to grow a family, and to grow old. Our entire community benefits. However, it is connected to the Oates Trail, but it's not quite fully accessible. For some people, the distance from the parking area to the entrance is simply too far to navigate. Another possible access is via a gravel service road. It's also quite far. I suggest that a paved parking area be created near the entrance. The service road could remain gravel, but become open for handicap parking. Three Valley Conservation Trust is eager to see this accessible parking happen and is willing to engage in cost-sharing discussions with the city and other agencies. So I thank the city of Oxford and the entire Oxford community for their support of the Oates Trail and for their support of this ADA compliant boardwalk that links the Oates Trail and 4 Mile Creek. And together, I hope that we can extend this functionality of this complement to the Oates Trail. Thank you.
Thank you, Monk. We appreciate it. We appreciated seeing many of the volunteers who worked on it. And just, if I can have a personal moment, we've been on that boardwalk and it is gorgeous. I mean, it's really so well built, so beautiful, and takes anybody right into the middle of the forest and out to the stream. I think you deserve a whole lot of credit. You've gotten some, but you deserve more than you've gotten, and we appreciate very much what you've done. And I hope that staff will take a look at whether it's possible to have handicap parking.
And if I could just reemphasize, Three Valley Trust is willing to put up money. We've been very successful with grants.
So it's just permission that you're
We
looking
would need
for.
permission and probably some in-kind contribution.
Well, this site, unless I'm mistaken, there will be development there for our dog park, which has been budgeted. And I believe that some amount of handicap parking may or may not be relevant to that. So I think thinking about that in context of the dog park planning, that's
Yeah.
the way to think about this, because we will be doing some investments on the site, whether or not it's feasible for the trail alone, but maybe a shared use.
Yeah, so we'll have staff look at it. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark,
We
for everything.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we appreciate all the work you've put into it. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address council? Steve, come on up.
Steve Schnabel, 44 Autumn Drive in Oxford. I think I'm becoming one of the curmudgeon in residence of the community. And I had intended to be here, missed the time entirely for speaking about your budget development, but have several points I'd like to bring forward. First of all, I think staff time, and especially administrative staff time in an organization, including the city, is one of the most valuable components. I believe that we stretch our leadership staff very thin, and some of that has to do with the number of commissions that are in place, and I would encourage you to consider looking at the outcomes from them to see that each continues to have a positive impact beyond simply being a feel-good. In a related, and while I'm talking about commissions, let me say thank you for using some of my time on two of them, in which I have some very strong concerns and interests, and I appreciate that. As you talked a few minutes while I was still here about the funds that have been available to the nonprofits, I've had my history of running the Oxford Senior Center, a local nonprofit that has benefited from city funding as a small portion of its operations, in addition to what you provide in kind as the owner of the building. I think your plan is a good one. I know that there had been some discussion about the redirecting the CDBG dollars that the city gets from the county. Since we've now been able to accomplish all of the handicap curb cuts that it had previously been designated to be used for years into the future, because we were able to do those projects with CARES Act dollars. I'd like to suggest that those dollars be added to what had been the operating fund budget set aside for nonprofits in the community. I like the idea of you having some guidelines with a stronger emphasis on those that provide significant services and are based here in Oxford or very nearby. Goes right into then the next thing about the strong work that's being accomplished on the community trail. And Mark, congratulations for all that work. My history in working with people with disabilities applauds having accessible areas. And I've often wondered, having visited in Michigan that had such wonderful handicap accessible trails and access to beaches, why more of that wasn't happening. And so I'm very proud that Oxford is doing so. Also, I live on Autumn Drive, where along Brookville Road right now, we're seeing all of that blacktop go down. I'm very concerned about how the connections to the streets are going to happen, because that's yet to be seen. And I want to make sure that that's as seamless as what we just saw in the way that the the trail boardwalk is connected to the walking area there. And I probably have 5 or 6 other things, but I'm sure that you have other business, and I thank you so much for taking my input.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Good evening, Ann. Oh, okay.
Hello, council members. My name's Gary Landrum. I live at the Parkview Arm Apartments. And I just came back from talking to some of the residents. And we've been trying to call HUD and even the Department of Health. And we keep getting circled back around to it's the city's or the county's responsibility for the pest control, the sanitation of the apartments, and to enforce the property management to step up to codes. And I was just wondering, how does that work when we keep getting the full circle?
Right. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm sure staff is continuing to look at that problem.
That's all I have.
It's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
We care about it.
Sure, I'll go next. My name
Good
is
evening.
Susan. Hi, good evening, everyone. I live at PVA. Okay. I've never seen this man talk to residents, or when I want to say community. A community, and I don't know anything about, how do I say this? I've lived there 3 years with my grandma who had dementia and the elderly. 3 years in my own place up front, number 2. I'm from Oxford, I know everyone. I think as a community, it needed to come together. I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's been a blessing for me, because I don't know where else I would be. I mean, I know where I'm going to be, but it was a stepping stone for me. I got a job, I got a better job. Yes, I pay rent. It's a lot cheaper than everywhere else, but here soon I'm gonna be able to afford everywhere else. So, my personal experience, apartment-wise, I've never had any issues, but I also make it my home. Anything that needed done, out the way. It's a nice little apartment. So I've never had any problems. I don't have bugs, but I'm not just saying I'm super clean. I'm sure they might be in the walls, but I make sure that they don't come out the walls. The place is old, but I've made it a home. And if I got a problem with somebody in the neighborhood, I'm gonna say something to them, not to the manager.
All right.
Because that's our community.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate hearing from the public, and it's an area that we're very concerned with. So thank you very much for coming.
Good luck.
Thank you. Ann?
Ann Fuhr, I live on Dana Drive in Southern Knolls. I attended the work session earlier and appreciate the opportunity for the public to attend and to provide input. I didn't make a comment then, but I certainly have a lot of thoughts about the budget for next year. Really what I want to talk about is the importance of clarity in your process and addressing clearly important issues that come up during those conversations. And I'll just give an example. I've been observing council meetings for 2.5 years now. I play leadership roles in a number of local organizations and am the official observer for the League of Women Voters here. Over the 2.5 years that I've been observing, I've seen, I think, increasing transparency, availability of your process to the public, and reaching out in order to be more inclusive of public input. And that is pretty crucial. That said, I hope that you are thoughtful about the way that you ask for that and are clear about the values, the principles, the processes that you're using when you ask for public input. Based on what little I know, but some, the role of the public in the council manager form of government is discretionary to the council. And so I think that you've really increased that in formal ways and really appreciate that. We as a public come from very different places, and for me personally, I'm always listening with the ear around human rights, making sure that the basic survival needs of all members of the community are met. And you've been addressing tonight, both in terms of thinking about Wi-Fi, but also in some of the issues that came up during the discussion of the budget, some pretty basic survival issues for members of our community. And I'm glad to hear that. I'm also glad to hear that you're thinking about the role of the partners of the city. The city lists formal partners on your website. And I'm glad that, for instance, in thinking about how to deal with the lack of satisfaction around the availability of public Wi-Fi, you think about TOPS as a partner with their reorganization, with the reorganization of the organization and the boards. Susie Hummel came and talked with you, Sherry Martin, and I do think they'll be strong partners. So the kind of working with them to make those funds available through their work with customers and clients is a good move. I was glad to follow Mark and Steve, who were talking about the role of the public and the importance of your giving permission and in-kind donations, or thinking seriously about the important role that boards and commissions play. I've done a lot of observing of boards and commissions and seen differences in what I think is the role of the public in providing input into the work of the city. I've heard many comments over the last 2.5 years about how financially strapped the city is, how overworked and stretched thin staff are, and I think it's really important that you think seriously about partnering with entities in the city. A number of you have been involved with Oxford Area Solutions for Housing and a community-based planning effort, and I think there's a lot of potential there for coalitional work with the community that doesn't rely so much on stretched thin city staff or financial shortfalls and deficits and how to deal with those. So, and particularly around that public, yeah, I'm wrapping up, can you tell? The public assistance. That's a really important part of your budget. It's a very small part of your budget. I think it should be bigger, but it's a really small part of your budget. So think very carefully. You talked about kind of how to get participation in asking for that. And you've already heard about the significant needs of low-income members. I was happy to hear you talk about low-income members of the community. So please continue to do that. And I'm going to keep coming back to talk about human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ann, and thank you for being here as a regular participant in our process. We appreciate it. Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Maria Johnson. I stay at PVA, I think apartment 20. Try to get through this in 5 minutes. So I know since we've been to, well, since we came here the first time, Elisa Allstott, I believe their last name, she's tried to fight me. She's actually tried to have some members in PVA gang up against me to fight for her, I guess. They're not replacing the stove or the refrigerator. They're replacing pieces. And the lady, I guess, Linda, I think she works with Lisa. She came and inspect the place. She turned the stove right on. stuck her hand in and was like, look, it's hot, it's hot. And then she's like, well, let's turn it off. And I'm like, well, give it a minute. You gotta let it, get hot so you can see that it's not going to get very hot. It'll get warm. But she immediately want to turn it off. So I don't know. She works for her. That's all I know. I have Elisa on video taking boxes home. When we pulled up, she backed her truck up to the building and was taking boxes out. So apparently she took these papers home and she wrote on them little things like for me, she wrote, I don't let people into my home, which is a lie. The door is open. During the day, it's open. They know that, and I've told them face to face. So I just got my rent, or what is this? I just got my lease. That's what I just got. I asked for this since January. So what I looked at, my bill apparently is $40. Lisa told me it was $37. Then she told me it was $47. But I've never paid just $40. So if this lady is doing what I think she's doing, that's $7 extra for every person that has to pay rent. For the money goes in her pocket, I guess, or pay her people or
Be
whatever.
careful about making accusations about people that,
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's what okay.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, we got the stove. I think that's about it.
so
I know
continuing problems,
we
in
haven't,
other words.
yeah, and we haven't got the roach problem together. I don't know.
Okay.
That's definitely a problem. They're still everywhere. I've used STEM. I've used roach traps. I've used Raid. You give it about 2-3 minutes, they're piling right back.
Okay.
Like it's an infestation.
All right. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
We appreciate you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address council tonight? Okay, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you coming and talking to us. All right, at this time, we will move to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be removed? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving it indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We'll move to resolutions. You can read the first one.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a law enforcement mutual assistance agreement with Miami University Police.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Chief, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our mutual aid agreement. We renew it every 3 years with Miami University Police. We also have a mutual aid agreement countywide. So, but this is has outlined some specific parameters with the university police because we work so closely with them, and certain things about communicating and geographical areas. So, just asking to renew this as it expires on June 30th.
Are there any major changes from the previous?
There's no changes.
No
just the
changes, okay.
dates.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address this resolution? Okay, thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions or concerns or discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution is adopted. We'll move to ordinances. We have no first readings, which is good since the next council meeting, the first meeting in July, is canceled. And so I'm just saying that at least one more time so that people will recognize that we don't have a meeting on that date. We'll move to second readings, and you can read the first one.
An ordinance authorizing the tax budget for the year 2025 and directing that the same be transmitted to the Butler County Auditor.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Heidi?
Hi, good evening again. I have no changes tonight to the second reading of the ordinance.
Okay. And I would direct your memory back to our public hearing as well. Are there any other questions or concerns? Are you ready to vote? Please call the roll.
Mr. Bracken,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Ms. French,
Yes.
Mr. Prethridge,
Yes.
Ms. Ragu,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Snavely.
Yes. The ordinance is adopted. We'll move to the second.
An ordinance approving the conditional use permit application to allow for a retail use exceeding 15,000 square feet in the general business district for the purpose of accommodating a new Tractor Supply Company store on property located at 5728 College Corner Pike, Oxford, Ohio 45056, with conditions.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Hi, Sam.
Hello. The only thing I have to add is there are members of the applicant team here tonight that were not able to make it the first reading. But other than that, no changes, no new information.
Okay.
We did ask them to build a multi-use path, which they agreed to. I didn't know when the second reading that happened, there'd be 1,000 bikers in town and the need for it, but it just
Yeah.
happened to coincide. So they are here to observe that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone from the public who would like to address this ordinance? All right, thank you. And we welcome all of the bikers from GOBA to be in our community. We're very happy to have them here. All right, is there discussion on the ordinance? Are you ready to vote?
I just have a question. I apologize since I missed the last meeting. The one kind of open question was the kind of design specifics of what that pedestrian connection might be like. And I, looking through the documents, that's still to be resolved in the design phase. We have a condition.
Yes.
But what it looks like and will be determined through review with staff.
We have received a draft of that. I'm not able to share the details of it tonight, but we have received a draft of that pedestrian connection, which is farther to the south than the original connection.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, and this is just, I think the condition captures it, but I would ask the design team when thinking about this to not just meet kind of letter of the law. And I think we think of like, well, why would a person walk to Tractor Supply? Or, you know, everybody needs a vehicle. I mean, think about your employees may likely be people who might walk or bike from town out there. So design it so it would be functional for that person. And I think imagining what that functionality would be will produce a good solution, because I think it might be the employees who would bike out to that sort of thing. So,
Okay.
no, I want to, just as a compliment, I got the sense from the Planning Commission, that this process went quite well in terms of the dialogue between staff, and so, I want to congratulate everyone for their hard work on it.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it, Dave. Anyone else? You may call the roll.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Ms. French,
Yes.
Mr. Prethridge,
Yes.
Ms. Ragu,
Yes.
Mr. Bracken,
Yes.
Mayor Snavely.
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. Thank you very much, and we'll move to announcements and communications. I'll begin with City Manager Doug Elliott.
Thank you. Fire Chief Dethridge and I met recently with Gary Salmon, Oxford Township trustee, to discuss a new agreement for the provision of fire and EMS services in the unincorporated portion of Oxford Township. The current two-year agreement expires on December 31st of this year. Under the current agreement, Oxford Township contributes $158,000 per year. Both parties then reached a tentative agreement for a new four-year agreement at $200,000 per year. This is a 26.6% increase. Excuse me, the calculation for a new agreement begins with the current 2024 operating budget for the Fire EMS Fund, subtracting EMS billing revenue, and then multiplying the resultant net amount by the percentage of fire and EMS calls for Oxford Township, which was 6.5% in 2023 and has been relatively consistent. So the plan is to draft a new agreement for the township trustees and city council to consider. The new agreement will also include completing annual fire inspections for all commercial establishments in the unincorporated portion of Oxford Township, less than 12 establishments. This was currently done by the Oxford Fire Division, but it was not in the agreement. So this will be incorporated in it, and we'll be bringing you in a new agreement for consideration. So we're pleased that we reached a tentative agreement with them.
Super, thank you very much.
That's all I have this evening.
Okay. Mike?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, Chief? Heidi?
I just want to say Stephanie Gray, the Assistant Finance Director, and I went to her
Super, thank you, Heidi, appreciate it. Chief? Casey? We have an obstacle course for our rec director, you know.
Nobody knows, but Chief Deathridge actually tripped me right there. He didn't really do that. As you've seen, Gobaville is here in town, as they call it, the Tri. They arrived Monday morning, and they'll be gone by tomorrow morning. We're being told that by 10 a.m. you won't even know they were here at all. I hope that's true. And then one final reminder, since our last meeting before the Freedom Fest Parade, that's connected to the Masons Car Show on June 30th, and then our big event will be out at the community park on July 3rd. Expect very similar to last year with some tweaks as far as the event itself, but of course the parade and the car show connected together will be new for all of us, so we feel like it's ready and in place and things will go well. We just need some good weather. Preferably not 95, but we'll take that over rain. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey, we appreciate you very much. Sam? Okay, Jessica?
I first want to say thank you to Kim Daggy and Enjoy Oxford and Casey and the Parks and Rec team for hosting GOBA, the Great Ohio Bicycle Adventure, which brings over 800 cyclists to town. As a person who hosted GOBA in 2016, I'm aware of the crazy amount of work behind the scenes to get ready for such a large event. But I want you to know that your work matters. I see these people all around town eating, shopping, and enjoying our community. So thank you for all of your hard work. Thanks to your team. I also want to say thank you to Mark Boardman, Tom Farmer, and all the other people who built that beautiful boardwalk. If you've not had a chance to go out there and walk on it, do. It is beautiful and stunning and just a great asset to our community, and I just love that it's connected to our trail. And then finally, speaking of the trail, I'd like to invite everyone to our Phase 3 ribbon cutting on Thursday at 3 p.m. We will cut the ribbon at Peffer Park at the bottom of the part that goes up to the high school because there's shade there. And we are hoping to do a community ride, but you know, if it's 99 degrees, we may cancel that, but stay tuned. If it's lovely weather, we'll go. If it's not, we'll sit in the shade. So I hope everyone can join us at 3 p.m. on Thursday. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Heather?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, my name is Jordan Staley on behalf of the law director at Coolidge Wall.
Super.
It's my first time joining you guys, and it was a pleasure being able to see how you guys work, and
Yeah,
appreciate you having me.
we're glad to have you here. And tell me your name again?
Jordan Staley.
Jordan, nice to have you.
Thank you.
Mike?
I just want to remind everybody about the OSH meeting, Oxford Area Solutions for Housing, Monday, the 24th at 5 o'clock at the Oxford Presbyterian Seminary. And I hope everybody has a nice holiday tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
I'm excited for the ribbon cutting. I think it's going to be great. I'm doing an informal end-to-end of the trail tomorrow morning before it gets too hot, and I'm really excited about it. The new trail is beautiful. The boardwalk is also beautiful. And there's an upcoming next month. There's a 5K, 10K, and 15K that will feature parts of the trail. So you can find it on Oxford Talk and online, and I can't remember the name of the race, but I'm sure if you Google 15K in Oxford, Ohio, you'll probably find it. And that's all.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to say quite a few comments. And just to follow up, and thank you for coming and speaking on your experience. What I've found with making new friends at PVA is that a lot of people are afraid to come forward, and when they do, you know, they get some retaliation. And so our friends that were just here, they got a notice to vacate the premises 3 days after City Council, so on June 7th. So thank you, this is not public comment time. So they got a notice to vacate. Then that night I get a phone call that the police were called because one of the women who had her apartment shown to the media, someone who represents the property manager, who Linda told me is an employee of Parkview Arms, went into her apartment and started moving her stuff, and some of her jewelry was missing. So she called the police, and I was there as she was speaking to the police about this illegal entering. That was one thing. And then the other thing with Maria's apartment with the bugs, we know the previous tenant also had a problem with cockroaches. And that is something that needs to be taken care of. A family of 4 with small children should not be moving into an infested apartment. That should have been taken care of by the landlord, regardless of how people want to blame the tenants. There are tenants there that have disabilities, and they've asked for accommodations. They have not been given that. That violates fair housing federal law. I asked Linda about the surveillance cameras that the tenants have repeatedly asked for to protect them against the dangerous activity that happens, the substance use disorder, the overdoses, the crime. She said it's just too expensive, so I'm really curious to see how much that actually costs. When we think about the cost to the taxpayers, we are the ones footing the bill. Every time the police goes over there, every time the fire EMS goes over there, we are paying for that. We are doing the job that this property manager is being paid to do. And it brings us to the overall problem that this is a housing stock problem. This isn't just PVA, this isn't just Section 8. We have a problem across the board, so we need to make sure we're doing what we can to, on one hand, protect against predatory landlords, because not all landlords are bad, right? The good landlords, none of these laws apply to them because they're already following the law. But the ones that are bad, they're really bad. And so we need to protect against them. When I talk to friends in Hamilton and Middletown, they're like, oh, PVA is bad. We are known around the county for having the worst Section 8 housing. That is so embarrassing. And the people that live there, they're single mothers, they're single fathers, they're veterans, they're people that just are struggling a little bit, and they don't deserve to live like that. So as we move forward, there will be ordinances that will be introduced over the next couple of months, looking at housing reform, what we can do to protect against predatory landlords. And again, this isn't something that affects the good landlords, right? Like, this doesn't apply to them. This is to the ones that are illegally entering and they're retaliating against people and making them feel that they cannot come forward to speak their truth. So I look forward to working together. I know the community members that don't live at PVA care about this as well. So let's change this, right? Like, I don't want to have the worst housing situation in the county. That can't happen.
Thank you, Chantel. Amber?
I think I'll just add to that, and this is no longer an issue, but just for the community to understand that when we have opportunities to bring in supportive housing with agencies that are really strong, that have a track record of providing good supportive housing, like the YWCA, for example, we have a lot of people in the community who felt like it was going to attract people from outside of our community to live there, but we have people in our community already who need those and deserve good quality housing. And as Councilor Ragu said, it's a housing stock problem. So if we have more good quality housing stock for individuals in the lower income bracket, then they can have safer housing. And that, again, was an opportunity for women and children who had experienced abuse to be part of their community. They're already in this community. They deserve better quality housing. So as more opportunities open up in the future, and sometimes they're hard to come by, I do want our community to think compassionately about our neighbors. They're already our neighbors. And I think I'll also add that the question that often comes up is whether the community will be safe around certain groups of people. And I want to ask our community to think about whether they can be safe around us in terms of how we treat people, how we welcome people, how we engage with people. There's more to safety. There's physical safety, but there's also psychological and emotional safety. And a lot of that comes with being welcomed and people's needs being met in the community. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. The ribbon cutting, this is a hard segue. I've had some members of the community ask about parking because there's limited parking at Peffer, much more parking at the high school, but then they have to walk in. But those are the options, essentially.
Or they could ride it.
Or they
Take
could
the
ride
trail.
their bike. Well, yeah, take the trail, but if they can't walk very far through the trail, it's, so for people who ask me about that, it really is either at the high school or Peffer. We had a great PACO meeting where we narrowed down 3 semifinalists for a mural that will happen along the trail, right by the underpass by 73. And so we have our next PACO meeting on July 8th, and we will be narrowing down our finalists. So we're very excited about that.
Super, thank you.
You stole everything I was going to say, particularly about us having opportunities like the YWCA. And you said it better than I ever could, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Two things, one on a positive note, one on a less positive note. One, the positive note, all of the work that's going into hosting GOBA, you know, to bring people into town. It's so wonderful in summertime in Oxford to see it's so vibrant, the orientation people, GOBA, and the Race Across America. And so it really does show, like, we really are a high amenity community. And it's a perfect time of year to come to Oxford. So when you think about the investment of time, I saw Sam today touring people around. Kim's been working really hard. You know, city tax dollars go to enjoy Oxford. It comes back to us in so many wonderful ways. That's the positive note. So thanks to that. You know, it's happening in unfortunate weather. I really feel for those folks camping when the nighttime temperature is 72 and the relative humidity is 99%. I feel for anybody who's working out there today. Every time I hear the fire alarm going on, I think somebody's suiting up in a fire, or, you know, people who are in our service department who are out there working. Some of us work in air conditioning. So I really feel for those people. And I want to just say that it's not unrelated to some of the things we were talking about in our budget. You know, when we talk about, like, what should we invest in a plan that's going to help us transition to renewable energy, it's worth reminding ourselves. I was just looking at our climate action plan, which talked about vulnerabilities. Like, that's one of the things we had to do. So we looked at the National Climate Assessment. If we don't change our ways, the Midwest will experience 20 to 30 additional days above 90 degrees by mid-century. So, you know, imagine a month or 6 weeks of 90-plus temperatures with the potential to, by end of century, 10 to 30 days a year over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine a month of 100-plus temperatures, what that means to firefighters, road workers, farmers. So, you know, when we're trying to weigh, is it worth doing those things for sustainability, imagine the possibility of avoiding a future of a month of 100-plus temperatures, and maybe we can find a way to fund the things that will help us save us from that future. So we get a little taste today of what the future could be like all summer long, and I don't want to live in a future like that. So thank you from the budgetary process, finding a way that we can get the most of our budgetary dollars to do the most that we can to build a sustainable future. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I also want to welcome and appreciate the participants from GOBA and all the people who have worked so hard to set everything up, to get everything organized, and to serve the people. I've seen in a lot of the restaurants in town and in different stores, and I was happy to see Sam Perry leading a historical tour on his bike, and they were a very excited group, and you did a great job, and I want to just appreciate you for that. A little shout out. And I wanted to also mention that Doug and I will be representing the city of Oxford in Differdange, Luxembourg. We leave tomorrow to go to Luxembourg, and I will be back shortly thereafter, but we're looking forward to it. And they're dedicating a square to their sister cities, of which they have several. And so they asked each of us to choose a tree to be planted there in honor of your city, and we chose the Buckeye tree. So there shall be a Buckeye tree in Differdange, and we're taking chocolate Buckeyes, yes, we are. We're taking those two. So anyway, and we're taking our flag, which will be raised in the park as well. So I think that's kind of fun. With all that, I will say stay cool and be good, and we will see you in a month. This meeting is adjourned.
So moved.
Oh, I'm just adjourning it. We're done. All in favor?
All in favor.
Yes, all in favor. Say aye.
This is the sound of the door shutting.